And I like Showtime.
Well, they had that in spades, no doubt.
I do, and that's what, and I never liked Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Bill Walton and all those guys because they just didn't play the game the way I liked to see it played, and that I wished I could have played it. There's what's interesting is the little racial tone there that's between the two. The Celtics were very well known for being a predominantly white roster. Jerry Siesting, Danny Ainge, Kevin McHale, Bill Walton, Larry Bird, and on down the line. I mean, I shouldn't say predominantly, but certainly much more than anybody else in the NBA. And
at the time,
75 to 80% African American league, even though you have many, many more European and Asian and other, people coming in from other parts of the world. But it's weird, Duke also with Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley and all those, a lot of the white players. I just had an affinity for Lakers basketball and Michigan basketball when it came down time to those things. They were just better. They were more fun, and the race part didn't matter to me. The style did. But today people, of course, take note of the racial components of those. They talked about how, Michigan was hip hop and they brought hip hop and black socks and baggy pants to the court and upset the white establishment. And I didn't give a crap about white establishment in what years are we talking about?
1990 through 93.
92, 93, yeah. I didn't give a crap about any of that stuff. The racial stuff didn't matter to me. I just liked the stop. Anyway, I'm getting off the track here. Point I'm trying to make is they had to vacate their wins and thus their Final Four and title game appearances, right?
Right.
Well, I think it was Jimmy King on the 30 for 30 that I rewatched over the weekend who said, it might have been Jalen, but I think it was Jimmy King, who said, ask anybody who the starting lineup was for North Carolina when we lost. When Chris Webber called that infamous timeout.
Mm-hmm.
Ask who the starting lineup for North Carolina was. Nobody knows. Ask who the Fab Five was and started that game for us. Everybody knows. He says, you take the banners down if you want, but nobody's ever going to forget what we did. And it's so true. It is so true. I don't even know if I can remember one of the starting members of the Tar Heels in that 93 final. But I remember the Fab Five.
Yeah.
And I bring that up now, Jim, to segue into one of the other huge news stories of the day. The University of Louisville has been forced to vacate its 2013 national championship, and they must take their banner down after the NCAA decided to uphold the penalties levied against them. Interim Louisville president Greg Postel, or Postal, I'm not exactly sure how he says it, had some very, very strong remarks about this. He thinks the NCAA is doing the Cardinals dirty.
Elections Appeals Committee announced that it had upheld earlier imposed penalties on the University of Louisville, inclusive of financial penalties and the vacation of victories between 2011 and 2015, the 2013 National Championship, and the 2012 Final Four appearance. I cannot say this strongly enough. We believe the NCAA is simply wrong to have made this decision. We felt that the young men who achieved these victories and the thousands of fans who supported them deserved our best effort. The university appeal, however, was challenging from the beginning. The facts of this case are simply terrible, causing many to find the detail of the appeal not compelling. It is also important to note that precedent for such a case does not exist, and that the NCAA Infractions Committee has wide discretion as it determines penalties. The NCAA's ruling cannot change the accomplishments of or the excitement generated by our men's basketball team. It cannot change the love we have for this great university. I hope you will join me in remembering those players and their accomplishments.
So that's the stance of the University of Louisville's interim president, Greg Postel. He's saying that the NCAA can do nothing to take away the memories of those great accomplishments. Number one, yes, they can, because I don't remember them very well anyway. Number two, they kind of have to, do they not? Now, let's go back and compare. This is what that line that he said there, cannot take away. That's what reminded me of the 30 for 30 that I just rewatched with the Fab Five and Jimmy King saying, people will always remember us. They don't remember the team who won. Louisville was in a very different story, a different place here. We are talking, excuse me again, I'm still fighting this cold. That's why Jim sat in for me yesterday. Cush, I certainly appreciate that. And I'm
no problem.
Now you might have to help out later. But the Michigan story was a little different because it was about a booster named Ed Martin who was giving improper benefits to these players, et cetera, et cetera. It's a little bit different than academic scandal, and players who are academically ineligible to perform or ineligible for a variety of other reasons. In the NCAA Appeals Committee on Infractions ruling today that it has upheld the initial ruling from the committee to vacate those wins and to institute these punishments is because of a number of ineligible players. And it's a big deal. The ruling marks the first time in NCAA history that a men's basketball national title has been removed from the record books. So they would not have taken that extraordinary step if the violations were not egregious. And I think they really were. The scandal within the program involved so many things, from academic misconduct to sexual favors and sex parties being thrown on campus and being allegedly organized by assistant basketball coaches and so many other things. We are talking about, truly, Jim, the words that most athletic directors and coaches, they hate to hear. The words that are the most damaging to them are lack of institutional control. And that was going on at Louisville. The lack of institutional control. The director of basketball, former director of basketball at Louisville, was said to have committed, quote, serious violations by allowing and arranging a striptease, dance, and sex acts for recruiting prospects, student athletes, and others, did not cooperate with the investigation. The violations in the case resulted in some men's basketball student athletes competing while ineligible. Rick Pitino was forced to resign from his position in disgrace, even after winning that championship, because he, like John Calipari, I've said many times, is about one of the slipperiest, nastiest snakes working in the college game, in any sport, and has been for a very, very long time. They finally caught up to him and caught up to them in the kind of program that those guys ran. And this was the right decision. The question, though, from our point of view and for our purpose of discussion, and Kush, you can feel free to tackle this if you want, is, does the list of national champions in college basketball history now just include the word none after the letter or the year 2013? Does it just say 2013 : none? Does it say parentheses Louisville, but title was vacated? Does it say Michigan, considering the fact that it was the Wolverines who had that magical Cinderella run into the final against Louisville in 2013 and lost 72-68, 74-68, something like that? 82-76. Never mind. 82-76. Does it say Michigan? What does it say? That's the question here. That's the question here are we just now saying nobody won the championship that year? Was that entire year played for nothing, Jim?
Well, they can claim little rules and take down banners all they want, but when you were laying it out that way, you know what kept popping into my head?
What?
The USC championship in football. We don't like Pete Carroll that much. There are some shady things going on at USC, but yeah, we don't pretend there wasn't a champion that year, even if there's no banners or anything. And I feel the same way on this one.
Well, I suppose to the letter of the law, you're right. We don't pretend, but I mean, we do, but we don't. And the only reason we do, I think, where we still acknowledge it is because the way that championship in 2006 was won.
Mm-hmm.
It was the great all-time Rose Bowl, between Vince Young and Texas and no, I'm sorry, that wasn't the one because they lost that one.
They lost that one. There was one the year or two before
the one that they won. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. They had a little mini dynasty there. They had a little mini dynasty.
Right.
I remember exactly which year it was. But the point is, Reggie Bush no longer has the Heisman Trophy, correct?
Technically, yes.
I mean, literally, he had to physically turn the actual bronze statue over back to the NCAA, to the Downtown Athletic Club.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's what I think happened. And same thing. So they took the banners down for the Fab Five. They're going to take the banner down for the University of Louisville. So is everybody okay? And I'm just wondering, because I actually looked this up before the show today, Jim. According to what I read, no, the NCAA will not consider the University of Michigan, who was the runner-up in the 2013 season, the national champion. They will just say that the championship was vacated. But I don't know if I necessarily like that. When Ben Johnson, and I'm going to go before your time here a little bit, the 1988 Seoul Olympics, when Ben Johnson demolished Carl Lewis in that showdown for fastest man on the planet in Seoul, and then tested positive for steroids, they stripped him of the gold medal. It didn't just say vacant, and Carl Lewis has silver. Carl Lewis got the gold. Carl Lewis, now who was cheated by that opponent, ascended to the gold medal. What I want to know is, and whether they do it officially or just in the minds of Michigan fans, can they now lay claim to another national championship? Louisville had it, shouldn't have had it because they broke the rules in playing ineligible players. So why isn't Michigan now considered the 2013 national champion?
I guess if Michigan wanted to, they could. I mean, look at the jokes that have been going on since January about Central Florida.
Well, yeah, but they have more of a claim than Central Florida does. Central Florida didn't make the national championship.
To put it in perspective, I guess I'm saying if Michigan wanted to, I'm sure they could. And FYI, I looked it up. USC, their football title I referenced, that was against Oklahoma, and they crushed the Sooners in that game. Or are the Sooners now the national champions for, I think it was 2004 or something?
In my mind, yes. If the champion cheated and wasn't allowed to win it, then the team that finished second now ascends to the title. Right? I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but that's just the way that's something I want to talk about. Maybe something we can kick around on Twitter as well, because I got to get out now to make room for college basketball talk coming up. And ironically, like I said, we were talking about Michigan and the Fab Five. Now we're going to bring it full circle to Michigan today. Wolverines riding high after beating the Ohio State Buckeyes, giving the Buckeyes their second straight loss after Purdue took them down as well. So we're going to talk with Von Lozen of AmazingBrew.com coming up next. Then at 4:40, Jim Cushlan is going to continue our MAC love as he talks with Todd Walker, the voice of the Bowling Green State Falcons. We bring you the best live and local coverage of MAC basketball right here as well on ESPN 106.5 The Ticket. Back after this. Hour number 2 of the extravaganza is indeed underway right here on ESPN 106.5 The Ticket. We are Toledo's sports leader, and a nice little montage put together by Mr. Cushlan as we get into hour 2. A lot of interesting rules stuff in the first hour, talking about the NBA and their potential change to a seeding system, top 16 instead of just East and West in years to come, and then also, of course, on baseball's pace of play stuff. But now we want to get into the action on the court or field, as it were. And in this case, we're talking college basketball, a lot of it, as a matter of fact, this half hour. And joining us now is Von Lozen of MazingBrew.com, and Von is going to tell us about the mighty, mighty Michigan Wolverines, who avenged an earlier loss to the Ohio State Buckeyes and took the Buckeyes down to complete a 2-0 week that has them jumping 5 spots in the latest AP Top 25 poll. They are now sitting at number 17. Von Lozen is sitting here with us. Hey, Von, how are you?
Hey, doing good. How are you guys?
We're good. Thanks for the time. Boy, I'll tell you what, it looked like the two, the two rivals, Michigan and Ohio State, were headed in opposite directions after their last meeting. Ohio State has just been on a crazy roll, and Michigan lost a few games that kind of made you wonder, what are they really going to be? Kind of an up-and-down thing. But now it seems to have shifted again. The Buckeyes have lost a pair, and Michigan had a 2-0 week, including that win over Ohio State. So what has keyed the turnaround for the Wolverines, Von, at least in recent games?
Well, it's been really about their lockdown defense, and that's kind of what it's been about most of the year. That's predominantly why they were able to come back against UCLA, force overtime, and eventually win that game back in December. Same thing with Texas. And that's why they had so much success against Ohio State in their first matchup. They really pulled ahead in that first half. They were up by 17 points, 20 points, something like that. Let it slip away from them. Their defense really struggled in that second half there. But a lot of it has been about the defense, especially in this game. They limited their top players really well. Bates Diop. He was only 5 of 17 from the field. He had 17 points. Jayshawn Tate, he also had 20 points, but he was also 9 of 14. So their two leaders played really well, but everyone else, it didn't seem like they were able to contribute all that well. And I think a lot of that has been because of the Wolverines' defense. I would say another big part is their free throws, which is something that they've really struggled with this season.